everybody. Welcome to the PVD Horror Podcast. I am here with Josh and I am Dave.
Brandon is here. He's just on a sabbatical.
Well, he's not here, but he's
but he is
like
part of PVD Heart. So
he is in spirit and he's still a person, is what you mean?
Yeah. We did the zero contact. I'm Joshua. Welcome to PVD Horror. We did a zero contact thing. So.
Yeah, that makes no sense what you just said, but okay. So what Joshua was trying to say is we had a really busy week. So we did a bunch of interviews all related to a film that's coming out called Zero Contact, which is directed by Rick Dugdale. So before we talk about that, just Josh, how's your week been? What films you watched? Anything like that?
Well, I did Monster House. So the Totally Tunular guys, Ben Johnson, who's been on our podcast, check out Ben and Derek Johnson, not related. He also does Totally Tunular, and I had guest appearance on there before, and I worked with all of their casts. James, the sound guy, hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, super secret, I want you on. Pick a movie." So I did Monster House. So I'm going to be on
the cartoon.
Yeah, the movie, it's Totally Tunular, so they only do cartoons, no anime. So I said, Monster House, let's do it. Because that movie's underrated. So check that out. Totally Tunular came out this past Saturday.
Josh, what's a better cartoon horror movie, Monster House or Frankenweenie?
Monster House.
All right, just asking for a friend.
Dude, Monster House is great. It's like
guy
that has ever been married is like, yeah, that's my wife right there. Like any guy.
I gotta watch it. It's been on my list of movies to watch, and I have not actually checked it out. So
you'll see what I'm talking about when you watch it. So what's up with you, Dave? How was your week?
Pretty good. Didn't have a ton of time to watch movies because I don't know if you know this, Josh, the Celtics are in the Eastern Conference Finals. That probably means nothing to you, but I'm a diehard Boston Celtics fan. So I have been watching those games every other night. But I did get a chance to check out the remake of Firestarter, which is streaming now. If you have Peacock, it is available on Peacock. And I see Josh's face and he has no interest because I said the word remake. Josh, yeah. I have something shocking to tell you. I didn't hate it. I did not hate it.
Yeah, I've seen your taste in movies. That doesn't surprise me.
Whatever. No. So there's some cool aspects to it. I'm not going to say it's a great film. I'm not going to say I was like, oh yeah, it's so awesome. I'm not going to go around and recommend it. But I am going to say if you have some time, check it out. Why not? There's way worse options out there than the new Firestarter. Zac Efron plays a dad. He's kind of like this cold. He's a little cold to, but there's these experiences that him and his wife went through that have kind of made him this way. And he kind of I don't know. It's interesting. I don't want to give away too much because I think that there's some things that people will find different or cool about it. I do like that they kept with sort of a synthy vibe to it. So synth soundtrack. So they kept a little bit of that element to it. And I think that added to it. There's also the cinematography is interesting because it gives a little bit of a vintage vibe, but it still looks new. So I think that there's some elements to it that I kind of dug. And then there's some things about it that I was like, oh, in some aspects, it probably could have been bigger or more developed in some places. But overall, not a bad film. I would actually tell people if you're interested.
Make an appearance?
Who?
Drew Barrymore?
No. I don't think so. At least, I was watching pretty closely. I didn't see any Drew Barrymore.
Couldn't even do a shout out to Drew Barrymore.
I know. So, Josh, do you have anything else you want to tell the listeners, or should we tell them about what they're going to be listening to this week?
I don't know. What are we listening to this week?
Well, what they're going to be listening to is hopefully they're going to be listening to these Zero Contact interviews.
Yes. For those of you that don't know, Zero Contact was really awesome. They're a lot of first. They were the first to shoot. Well, it was specifically on Zoom, but they didn't release it. But they were the first to shoot on it, which is pretty cool. And no one ever talked to each other, so everything's far. They're not all acting off each other. The second one, first ever to go to Antarctica. First NFT, which I didn't even know was a thing. So a lot of first for this movie and the upcoming sequels. So super cool movie.
Yep. Yep. So this movie is releasing on May 27th. So by the time you guys are listening to it, it will already have been out in select theaters and VOD. We have in store for you guys actor Chris Brochu, who has been in a plethora of things. He's starting off in like Hannah Montana and, making his way through Vampire Diaries and then leading to this film. Alex Podnovic is another actor who's been in so many films. It's like mind-boggling how many films he's been in, and he was an amazing interview. And then at the end of the week, director Rick Dugdale. This is his first time directing, but he's produced a number of films, working with Anthony Hopkins, working with Ben Kingsley. Anthony Hopkins is also in Zero Contact. I can't believe I didn't already mention that. So we hope you guys enjoy this series of interviews, and we appreciate, everybody's support, and enjoy.
And you can listen to Dave fanboy out about Anthony Hopkins.
Dude, Anthony, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Well, anyways, yeah, we hope you guys enjoy him, and thanks for listening. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. We are joined here with Chris Brochu, who is in the upcoming movie, or maybe by the time this airs, it will already be out, Zero Contact. Chris, thank you so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate this.
Pleasure. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. We got a little bit of time to get into things.
Yes. Chris, you've been acting since, well, the earliest credit I saw was 2007.
Yep.
How old were you when you got into acting?
I think my first project, because I think the 2007, I don't know if that was Hannah Montana. Now let me see if
I think it might have been.
Yeah, because I did one film before that in Florida called Pose Down, and I played let me see if it's here. Oh, it is. Hannah Montana, I guess they put Pose Down on second, but so that was actually the first project I ever did, and it was actually the first audition I ever had. I was living in Florida, and I got an audition and went and did it, got the part. My part was a throwback, kind of a memory of the lead character, and I was young, and one of the scenes was like going to a beach and kissing a girl, and I was like, acting's fun.
Yeah.
let's keep trying this out. So yeah, since 2007 I've been on this freaking crazy journey.
Yeah. So
Tanner, I didn't know that. That's a big deal, man.
Yeah, it's been, it's slow and steady, man. Feast and famine.
Dude, I have a teen daughter. Hannah Montana ruled my life for about 3 years, I'll have you know.
No doubt. And she probably is familiar with the Disney film I did called Lemonade Mouth, which was dude, that's the one that the youngins tend to gravitate towards.
Yeah. So are you a heartthrob?
In that film, I was a bit of a jerk. I was
okay.
Antagonist of the film, and blast to play.
You know what? You're earning points right now. As soon as we are done, I'm calling my daughter. I'm like, guess who I just talked to?
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Let's take like a screenshot or something and send it to her.
Awesome.
So I know you've been doing a lot of publicity and interviews for this movie Zero Contact. How many times have you been asked about Hannah Montana since you've been doing this?
Zero. You are the first.
Yes.
Because a lot of them, they're 10 to 15 minutes or so, and so it's pretty quick, concise. And so I think this will be the first interview that we'd have a little bit of time to actually, explore truly whatever you gentlemen want to talk about.
We're actually solely want to talk about Hannah Montana today, if that's okay.
So here we go. I think my name, what was my character's name? Dex, I believe. And Dex. I believe I had, maybe like 7 lines total or something like that.
Nice.
But that was
Hey,
Yeah, that was the beginning.
it's cred.
Seems like so. It literally seems like forever ago. And in some ways, it
Um,
was.
what did you prefer? Did you prefer doing kissing scenes or being a jerk and just kind of being able to explore that?
You know what? There's pros and cons to all of them, I guess. I'll say that. Um, to me, it's all just the same in a sense, because it's all just exploring the character and trying to bring whatever those moments are to life to the best of my ability. So I don't, to me, there's not a better or worse really. Obviously, when I was 15 and getting to kiss a girl on a beach was very memorable.
Yeah.
And but being able to sink my teeth into some more meaty roles and characters has been very rewarding as well.
Well, you just said two things that are going to lead me to my next question for you. Memorable and sinking your teeth into things. So you've had some roles in some pretty big name shows. So there was like obviously Hannah Montana, but
Yeah.
also Vampire Diaries, CSI.
Yeah.
So what have been some of your best moments or favorite moments from these shows?
Vampire Diaries was one of the first, definitely reoccurring roles. I got to do 14 episodes on that show, which I was extremely grateful and thankful for, especially during that time of my life. It came at just the right time, which I feel just kind of tends to happen when you're working in a certain aspect of your life. I think it translates to anything that you are aiming to do or trying to do. It's obviously not always up. There's always downs, right? There's always that balance of everything. Vampire Diaries was fantastic. I got to explore a lot of different aspects of my psyche that are expressed within Luke. And for me, just like a side note, that's the blessing of acting in general. And I teach it as well. So I tell my students, me personally, Chris, I'm pretty level-headed unless something extreme's happening. And I'm not too emotional, but in acting, it's very much therapeutic in the sense where I look at my character, I read the episodes or the scripts, and the hardest part is, okay, Chris, figure out when you felt this way. When was it? Who was it? Where were you? What was happening? Kind of going back to that so you can ground this fictitious reality and some sort of truth in your own life. So I got to do I get to do that with every role, but Luke, I got to explore. Luke was I believe one of the first reoccurring gay characters on Vampire Diaries. If not, I don't want to say all of TV, but it was definitely Vampire Diaries. So I got to explore that, and I got to really explore as well his loyalty to family and his kind of sacrificial nature, which I can definitely sympathize with. And then, so that was kind of Vampire Diaries, CSI, NCIS, things of that nature. I got to play I believe it was a Navy petty officer. Recon, I got to play a soldier out of World War II. And so it's to the best of your ability, trying to find yourself within this person, using your empathy to the best of your ability, and trying to give a believable performance.
I really like that way you described it, because I don't think I've ever actually heard anybody talk about acting and like trying to find that part of themselves in their character. So I like the way because that feels really authentic. And well, hopefully it will be,
Yeah. And I mean, that again, that's the goal. And you can't aim for authenticity. You have to aim for the truth, and the truth is vulnerable, and that is hard, but it's very much like jumping out of an airplane. You prep, you've packed your chute, I mean, I've never done it by myself, but I've gone skydiving, and the dude on my back did everything for me. But the analogy remains where, you You pack the chute, you do all of your steps, you've gone through everything, and then all that's left to do is jump. And you forget about your training takes care of everything from that point. And if you're truly living in the moment, which you can come in and out of, for anybody that's ever tried to meditate, you realize how much your brain doesn't want to do nothing or focus on just one thing. It is that balance. But I think, the way I've been taught it and the way I perceive it is, if you can't see yourself in the character, you're not looking at either the character or yourself hard enough, because we're not that different. Like, human beings are motivated by very similar primal urges, and we just gotta try and open ourselves up to what it may be. If you're judging a character, you've already limited yourself. If you judge another human being, you've already limited yourself and them. So it's kind of like the balance of the two.
That's going to be our sound clip right there.
Yeah, these are some words of wisdom here. I really like this.
That was awesome. So my wife's favorite show is Shameless.
Yeah.
She watches it. I go to bed early because I get up super early. I'm up at 4. And she watches it on full blast in the living room. And every time I walk out, there's like a boob, a penis, there's something. And I'm like, what are you watching? Like, when I go to bed.
Exactly.
And, so can you give me any experiences from Shameless, just so I can earn the credit of my wife?
Of course. Shameless is one of my favorite sets to be on, to be honest with you. The main reason was because normally when you go to set, you go to your trailer. In your trailer, you've got, if it's your first day, there's a contract there. You got to do all the paperwork, blah, 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 blah. And there's also a set of what we call sides, which is basically just the scenes that we're shooting that day, right? They're probably, 4x6, and it's just what we're shooting today. And if you're on set, everybody's got one, whatever. Shameless, you show up, there's no sides. People are there to work. And I'm of that same mentality. I'm coming to set fully prepared. I don't need the sides. I'll look over them just to make sure what was on the schedule is what we're doing today. Make sure nobody has rewritten anything of that nature. But on Shameless, that was the first thing that I noticed was, no, you're gonna come to set prepared. And I love that. I love that intention. Like, we're here to work and make a show. The second thing was, for those that saw Shameless and my character gets, do we curse on this? What's happening?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, complete reign to say whatever you want.
Okay. He gets his ass handed to him by Lip. Lip perceives him to be somebody he is most certainly not. And so I got to do 2 episodes, a relatively small character, but for me, it was Shameless, and it didn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
So working on Shameless, those are my 2. Also, it was the no sides, come be prepared. And then working with Lip, getting my butt kicked. Like, we were proper wrestling, and it was a really fun time. And so just the work ethic and in the vibe of that production was one of my favorites to work on.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I want to throw you a curveball here. So before we actually started recording, you were talking about books. I'm sitting in a library. Real quick, favorite genre, favorite books.
Okay. Favorite genre. I love books that make me think. Right now, I'm reading the brothers Karamazov. I'm trying to get cultured into this blonde head of mine. I never grew up reading books of that nature. I'm into philosophy. I love acting books. I've got my books here. Let me see. Oh, hold on. What? Have you guys heard of Course in Miracles?
No.
It's like a kind of like a spirituality type book. It's very much, it uses kind of like biblical type language, but it's such a different thing. So that was interesting to me. I read that whole thing through. There's a lot of phrases in there that allow you to kind of think into different pockets of your mind that you haven't quite
Sure.
gotten to yet. I would like to eventually have got back here. I don't know if I'll read these books because I feel like they're kind of older, but I found it at a Goodwill, and it's got Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Catholicism. I enjoy trying to see what, the people that have thought about reality, wrote down,
Yeah.
and just to have a better idea of what the question mark of life is. And let's see. So I guess nonfiction, and I don't know, there's another one up there that I really love. I'm actually halfway through right now. It's called The Body Electric. And it talks about the human body and just the interesting, the human body, and also just animal life as well. Talks about how we're built and how the electrical currents in our body works, and how like we heal, or how frogs heal, how they can regenerate limbs and things of that nature. Like, it's super crazy.
Huh.
You can cut off a frog's arm, and the polarity of its limb will reverse. So it'll instead of having the positive charge, the whole part that got cut turns negative, and that negative charge like rebuilds the arm. And then when the arm's rebuilt, it goes back to the positive cycle. And it's like things like that just blow my mind. So I'm constantly trying to gather little morsels of information like that.
Very cool. Chris, I'm going to give you 2 book recommendations just based on the fact that we're talking about an interest in philosophy. The first one is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I'm not sure.
Got it.
Okay.
It. Love
Amazing.
that book.
Have you read it? You've read it already?
I have. Yep. I have it on my shelf.
Don't ruin it. I have not read it. I have
Okay.
it.
I won't.
Yeah, I
So
just think
good.
it's an important book for people to read because it really does
Agree.
talk about why we do, like what drives us, what keeps us going.
Yep.
The other one is fiction, but it brings up a lot of theoretical things. The Alchemist.
Yeah. I
by-
love The Alchemist too.
All right, you got both of
Yeah.
them. You're good. Then.
Love them. Yeah.
Those are 2
Very
that I've
good.
been recommending a lot lately because that
Yep.
one talks a lot about like choice and kind of like pushing forward and not like hindering ourselves.
I agree. And that The Alchemist, it kind of touches into that. If like the why is strong enough, the how takes care of itself.
Yes.
I need to reread that book. Actually, that's a really great book. And for anybody that's interested in acting, this book, I'll show you.
I'm loving this right now, Dave. I'm totally eating this up.
This one, super easy.
Yeah.
Like you could literally read it in a couple of hours, and it's not like talking to you about method or anything of that nature. It really brings acting to life in a metaphoric way, where it basically talks about this older teacher and this younger student. And I believe the teacher's called the teacher and the student's called the creature. And so it's essentially this woman that comes to this teacher throughout the years of her career with these different kind of like blockages. I have to play this part where that my character wants to kill somebody, but I've never felt that way. And then he points out, well, you ever kill that gnat that's been buzzing around your ear? Like, where does that come from? What is that feeling? And so it's pinpointing the essence of what it is without having to get so like grandiose about it. Like maybe you never wanted to kill a human, but you probably have, just because we're humans.
Right.
We don't, because most of us have self-control.
Right.
But it's pinpointing those little emotional aspects of us that we, I don't know, justify or assume are just normal or things of that nature. That really changed my perspective on how acting can be done.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And going in line with exactly what you were saying earlier about trying to find that part of you that you can bring to the character, because you're not always going to have a direct relation to everything. So you have to find some essence of that relation.
Yep.
So yeah.
Exactly.
This is rapidly becoming my favorite interview right now.
Listen, I could literally talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Get me in a group with like a couple drinks and like let's just talk about life for a second.
Yeah.
It's just too interesting to feel like we have it under wraps or like, we have the answers to this thing. That was another thing another one of my favorite books. It is the Smithsonian Timelines of History. And I went through this really crazy time in my life. Like I had some medical things happening and that was the point in my life where a lot of intellectual and spiritual change occurred. And I just remember looking at that book and I went all the way to the beginning. I was healing. I had some surgery on my back and I was just healing up. And I was, again, I grew up, I haven't told you this, but I grew up a military brat. I was homeschooled. I had an education, but I could cheat pretty easily. You know what I mean? Like I found ways around things and getting schoolwork done quick. And so there are aspects of that learning process that I skipped over or missed out on. So I went through this like hunger, this time frame of just hungering for knowledge. So I got that book, went all the way to the beginning. I was like, let's figure this thing out. And then like the first page is, we think based off of this and the carbon dating that this occurred. And it was one of those moments that it came back to me that like, oh, we're still just guessing. We're still guessing, Then I read some Einstein and I was like, this guy like just was doing thought experiments all the time. And like your thought process is just as valid as his, not to downplay his genius or upplay any of our, genius.
I literally just finished a book with him in it.
Yep.
Introducing quantum theory.
Okay, that'll be on my list because here.
That one is literally the history of quantum theory and like how all these different people through time really got into it with their brains and thought about it and then started brainstorming with each other. And it was pretty incredible.
What was that one called again?
Introduction to Quantum Theory.
Sure.
And it's really cartoony. Like it's meant for like little kids.
Oh,
but when I'm very into science and I can't do math, but I love science. And I'm not educated at all. I'm all self-educated, and I thought it was smashing.
Yeah, I love that as well. I went down a rabbit hole of the theory. Oh man, I got another one of those books too. What's his name? I'd have to find it. But anyway, Einstein's Dreams. Have you seen this one?
Oh no.
This one's super cool because it's the chapters are relatively short, but they're just, I don't think it's actually Einstein's work, but it's what's the author's name? Alan Lightman taking Einstein's theories or thought experiments and putting them to words. And you get they paint a picture of what reality would be like with this type of gravitational pull or this type of light. And I have to go, this is also one of those ones I keep in my kind of travel bag because it's a fun read. Yeah.
I'm going to recommend one more book here.
Yeah,
this one was pretty good. Discover Your Genius.
Discover Your Genius.
Yeah, it's got a variety of different people, and it was really interesting to read up on. I did not go to school, and I only learned to read like 5 years ago, maybe, or 10 years ago. But I didn't really seriously read until like 5 years ago, and now I'm addicted. So I read everything. Everything I get my hands on.
That's amazing. And I feel similar in a sense of I read when I was a kid, but I was also so much more interested in like going outside and skateboarding or playing hockey or like physical activity. I am like outdoor barefoot, like no shirt, sitting by a river, and like swimming is my dream me. So,
That's
so that was kind of my childhood, was just being an outdoor barefoot kid. And only in, I suppose, my early to mid 20s is when I really started getting back into reading and forcing myself, especially on planes. Like I love bringing a book on a plane, because then I just, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing for the next 5 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's been beneficial for sure.
Yeah.
And my brother's kind of the inspiration, because he's so well read. He loves more fantasy and fiction of that, things of that nature. So he was an inspiration for sure, because he's articulate and well read. And
well, if that's the case, I recommend this for your brother, The World of the Giant
Ants. I'll let him know.
It's a little known book, but it's absolutely amazing, from the 20s.
Of the Giant Ants. That'll be like if he probably won't see this, so it'll be like a gift at some point.
Yeah, The World of the Giant Ants. I saw it and I was like, I need to get it, and I was floored. So
Nice.
I think the dynamic that we're talking about here is really interesting, because you're talking about when you're acting, you're trying to tap into your own like personal experiences that can help you connect to a character. But then if you think about it in our real lives, when we go through certain phases, we then start to seek out other people's experiences to help us kind of connect our experience to something else. So like for me, I know in like specific times in my life, I can think like kind of what you were talking about when you went through that phase where you just want to soak up all the knowledge of all these different people. And like, I think about some of my like 20s, in my 20s, when I was kind of confused about life, and I was digging into like Bret Easton Ellis and Bright Likes Big City and like all that kind of like, it was like a confusing time. And but like we seek out certain things, and like acting is kind of the opposite. You're kind of bringing out parts of you for people to be able to connect to.
Yes.
But it's like this big circle of us, like how we connect with each other and how we use these different forms of media to connect with each other. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Acting for me, it allows me to express feelings maybe in a more, I wouldn't say like articulate way, but like I said, I'm a military brat. So there's definitely some of that, like, keep your head down, keep moving forward type mentality. So I hate it going back and like trying to figure out how I feel about things and when I felt this way. But at the same time, it's also it's an exhilarating thing to do that work, try and push yourself to the limits that you can by yourself or with a coach, and then getting on set. And I say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I say like a little prayer before I do what I do, and let the universe know, like, you brought me here. I'm doing the best that I can in this moment. So it's not up to me anymore, and then you, like I said, jump out of the plane. And so it allows me to express things that maybe I wouldn't normally express. But as you said, it also allows human beings to see themselves. That's what a good acting part is. It's you being able to see yourself in that person.
Yeah.
Whether you like what you see or not.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a fascinating art form that can go as deep as you want to go.
Yeah.
So speaking of art forms, you're also a musician, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to disappoint you. PVD Horror does not have a record label.
Okay. Not yet.
It's so funny because I said that to the guys. I was like, we don't have a record label yet. We might in the future.
Yep.
So is there any plans on kicking off a music career?
So, I would love that. My main intention with music is record the music when because I'm independent. So I fund everything. I do it all myself. I'm producing this. My last EP and all of my singles, except for the last demo that I released, I've had producers help and engineers help and all that jazz. And, it takes time, money, and energy and all that jazz to get it done. Haven't had the luxury of those things in the past couple of years. So I'm hoping that once these 2 sequels are done for Zero Contact, that will allow me a little bit of free time to take that time to do my first proper album, do some music videos to the extent that I would like to. And the intention has always been like, do I want to like sell out arenas and all that stuff? Sure. If it doesn't happen, is that okay? Yes. Because at the end of the day, I've made peace with the fact that as long as I'm putting out songs that I'm proud of, that's kind of the point. And I don't have, I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So we do a playlist and some 2 favorite songs. Go.
So right now I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar's new album and it's so good. So I'm just gonna give that album.
Okay.
And then let me see who else.
A lot of people have to think when
Yeah,
you
this is
we're
good.
like 2 favorite songs. Go.
I know. Well, I'm thinking because I've just been focused on that new album. It's been that album's so like raw and inspiring, which has been, I've kind of just had that on repeat just to kind of absorb it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just want to just shout out some friends.
Do it. Hey, the playlist is on YouTube and Spotify, so people listen
Okay.
to it.
Okay, great.
Your friend.
I'm gonna go with my friend Katie Perlman. And there was this band that is a friend of mine, and I helped produce one of his music videos. It's called the Herbert Bale Orchestra, and he's one of those cats that I have both of his EPs in my truck still, and I'm just like constantly, they're just on rotation.
Okay.
And also, you know what? Coulter Wall. Are you guys on to Coulter Wall yet?
No.
If you like country, I mean, I'm not like a huge country. I grew up on country, but I'm not like a huge country fan. But Coulter
Yep.
Wall is ridiculous. He's like 26 years old, but he sounds like he's almost dead. You know, he's got
Yeah,
this
yeah.
voice that's like
Yeah.
Johnny Cash from the grave. Like he
awesome.
sounds like he's about to die, but he's this young, proper cowboy from Canada. And just once you listen, hit me up on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Your thoughts.
I just looked up a picture of him, and yeah, he looks like a cowboy.
He's a proper cowboy.
Wow.
My friend saw him at Stagecoach this past weekend or the weekend before that. And she was like he sounded good, but he just kind of looked like he didn't really want to be there. And I feel like he's one of those artists that he's like real popular.
Yeah.
Like Joe Rogan's like always shouting him out and wanting him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But Coulter Wall's management's like, he's actually working the cattle right now, so he's gonna have to get back to you. You know, he's like one of those guys where everybody in life, he's like so hot right now because he's so freaking good that I think he almost like keeps all of that popularity kind of at bay a little bit.
I think that's helpful. I think that keeps people wanting more when they're not overexposed.
I think so.
I'm kind of a little bit of like a music snob. As soon as somebody gets on like regular radio play, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of done with them.
Especially when you can start to feel like we're starting to make music for money now. Like we can see the formula, we can hear it, the mastering's super clean, you know, you can feel that. And you know, whatever, to each their own. You know, when you pull
I can't blame them. I'd probably take the money too. So
I know when you can pull up to a mansion with a briefcase of cash and be like, it's mine. Like it's hard to.
I'm sure they're not crying because they lost me as a listener. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, oh really? Check it.
Yeah. Hey, so Chris, I think that I'd probably categorize Zero Contact more as a thriller, a dark thriller than horror. But
Yep.
since this is a horror podcast, I am
Yep.
going to still ask you this. Are you a horror fan? And if so, what are some of your favorite movies?
Man, you know what? This is probably where we start. this, this is where we start losing each other. You know what? I liked scary movies. I love thrillers. I love psychological thrillers. Horror, it has to be like specific. I don't love like Texas Chainsaw type movies really. And so I don't know what would be my favorite scary.
So
movie.
just a funny little side note. We literally just interviewed someone the other day, and the comment came out of my mouth. I don't think anyone can not like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's hilarious. that you just
It
said
is
that as
hilarious.
the example.
It's classic. This is a classic moment. I've seen, and you know what, man? I may have seen like one of them. So should I give them another? Should I give them another go? Sure.
I mean, just the first one
Just the first one.
is just, it's an incredible film. It's actually a dark comedy, and people don't see it that way. So when you don't see it that way, I think
Yes,
you can lose some of it.
that's fair.
I mean, the second one is good, but and if you're not a horror fan, I don't think it's going to connect as much. The first Texas Chainsaw is incredible.
Okay, so the name of the film is escaping me, but do you remember a couple years ago there was another one of those like would you call it, what was the category you said the first one was, like a dark comedy or what?
Yeah,
what did you
dark,
say?
it was a dark comedy.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it came out, it had to be like, oh my God, maybe like 5-7 years ago. Now I got to think about what it was, but it was very much like that. It was a horror film that was like a dark comedy that really kind of played into all the stereotypical things that like a slasher would-
Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes, that's a great film.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do enjoy things of that nature. It just depends. So again, like I said, I'm not religious, tend to be spiritual. I believe in, anything's truly possible. You've got the good of the good and the bad of the bad and whatever. So in the past, when I was younger, I would watch horror films because I'd be like, this doesn't scare me. Right. And it was fine. It was more of like a haha, I'm here to laugh at it in a sense.
Yeah.
But then when I started to become older, I just started becoming more sensitive to all of that. And then I was like, well, man, now I got all this imagery in my head, and like my brain doesn't need this to be going on all the time, because if you believe in the ultimate good, you got to believe in the ultimate evil, quote unquote. And so there's like that balance that I try and keep within my own psyche that keeps just me somewhat sane. But like I said, for me, the psychological thrillers are my favorite. I love stuff of that. Like, do you ever see Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Oh my God, such a creepy and good film.
So
Love
would that be horror? Would you consider that horror?
It teeters the line
It
of
teeters,
horror.
right?
People definitely mention it
Yeah.
in that realm. So yeah, I would
So
say.
that type of horror or like thriller, I enjoy that because it's the psychology more than like the brutality or whatever else. You know what I mean?
Have you ever seen Human Centipede Part 2?
I have not.
All right, well, don't check it out, actually.
Why would you?
Chris, could you do me a favor? Would you mind giving the listeners just a brief summary or synopsis of Zero Contact before we start talking about it more in depth?
Yeah, sure. So just zooming all the way out, Zero Contact, it got its name because we shot it at the beginning of the pandemic. And the name Zero Contact came from the fact that we had zero contact with one another, zero physical contact. Every scene that you see in this film, the actor set up the shot, the actor set up the lighting, the actor did the sound, the backdrop, the wardrobe, hair, makeup, everything was done by that actor. Obviously, we had times and meetings on Zoom with the producer, director, writer, DP to make sure that the angles were right, lighting looked good, things of that nature. But the namesake of the film came from the fact that we had zero contact with one another. So that's kind of the overview of it. But the actual film, we find our characters in a bit of a predicament. This kind of very, I don't know, we'll call it just an interesting bit of information is given to all of them.
Yeah.
They find themselves in the chat room similar to ours right now. And my character, Sam Hart, is the son of Finley Hart, who had passed in this reality 5 years prior. And Finley Hart sent a message to all of us. We find ourselves in this chat room. I've met nobody in the chat room except for one person one time at my father's funeral.
Mhm.
And my character basically has to figure out if he can believe in a person that he cannot trust. And he has to figure out if he can get to the bottom of exactly who's in this chat room and what exactly will happen when this code that they all have to input is actually input into the system.
Yeah.
So it was a fun experiment of a film that I couldn't have possibly imagined where it would take us. And the fact that we're here now with the film that we have is just, it's Rick Dugdale. You have to give him all the credit because it was his dream, it was his vision, and he absolutely made it happen. And Zero Contact 2 and 3 are going to be,
Yeah.
I mean, even.
And just so you know, we're also going to have a conversation with Rick Dugdale. So we're going to avoid any questions that like he's going to give us the answers for. So we'll just go more specific for you. But let me ask you a question. Are you actually in the room that you filmed that you were in the movie?
No, so
for a second, I was like, was that the room after you said like the setting up and everything?
Yeah. I was in, so that was in Los Angeles at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then basically partway through the pandemic, my wife and I got an opportunity to go to New Mexico for her to work and for me to work another part-time job as well as teaching online. And I had the luxury of teaching online. So we made the move. We figured, you know what? LA is not going to be LA for 2 or 3 years. Big cities aren't going to be big cities I'm not going to be sitting here paying this rent, listen to this construction, not be able to leave my house. It just is not the way it's going to go down.
Right.
So we halfway through the pandemic, or rather not even 2020, June 2020 is when we kind of made the decision to come out to New Mexico.
Yeah.
So no, this isn't the location, but that location was in Echo Park, California.
Oh, all right.
Cool. So I have a question. Were all of you on Zoom working off of each other, or like on whatever working off of each other, or was it strictly just you? And if it was just you, how did that affect your performance? Either way.
Yeah, so it was just me. None of the actors actually worked with one another. We never even saw each other on Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but it's kind of like anything, right? Here's the situation. This is what we're doing. This is how it's happening, right? You wrap your mind around all those things and then you just go for it. It's the same action no matter what. It's just going into the character as deep as possible, trying to create a nuanced, believable performance. The crazy part about it was the fact that each actor had to take care of everything. So on top of learning my lines, making sure that I was putting the time and effort into Sam, before we start shooting, it's okay, rolling on camera, rolling on audio. Okay, we're in this scene. So, okay, I need my phone. Okay, are we good? Do we need anything else? Okay, scene 102, great. Pull it up on the script just to make sure that we know where we're at. Great. And okay. And then once that checklist was done, taking your moment to, okay, we're at where we need to be. Let's settle and let's do it. And a lot of the time we did what's called block shooting, which is we start at the beginning of the script and we hit each scene. And we do that scene, maybe 2 to 4 times. And once that's done, we just keep rolling. And it was quick shoot. It was a fast shoot, fast turnaround. It was actually supposed to be, the intention was for it to be released literally in June. I think close to my birthday, actually, June 25th of 2020. So that obviously didn't happen, but it obviously happened for a reason. Sir Anthony Hopkins gets involved and Lionsgate. And so it becomes the world's first full-length NFT feature. All of these crazy things came from just jumping off this creative ledge with some friends.
I think one of the most impressive things is thinking now back to the movie and having this information from you, thinking back about watching people interact off of each other.
Yeah.
But what we thought they were interacting off of each other, but actually it's somebody just doing reactions to something they're, imagining how that's incredible.
So that is definitely I would say the one difference, obviously, is that, like you said, normally acting, reacting, you got your scene partner, they're giving you something, you're giving it back. The analogy is like tennis, right? You play the game that's coming at you. And for us to be able to give ourselves the freedom to believe in circumstance. And again, what probably wouldn't have done this if it wasn't Rick Dugdale. It's a lot of faith that you're given to these people, this director, the writing was done, but the editor, the director, to actually make it turn out on screen how it feels on the page. And so it was a welcomed creative challenge.
Yeah.
Especially during such a freaking just crazy time.
Yeah. A lot of your lines are like directed at everybody. There's a lot of like questions, but then I think about the actor who played Trevor. His name's Alex, I think.
Yeah.
But a lot of his is always like reacting to what you say, and like, and everything just seems so in sync. So that's so impressive the way you guys pulled that off.
Are you going to talk to Alex as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell him I say hi.
We will.
I mean, I tell him hi every day, but it'd be good to just have it coming from you.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Was it hard to get the timing down for that?
You know what? I didn't really truly even think about it because, again, putting your faith in the director, and also putting the faith in director of performance. I do it. Director feels good. Okay. There's one of two things. Either I'm going to believe you and let's move on. Or if I feel like I didn't quite get there, I'm like, just one more, just give me one more. And Rick's very, very much accepting of that type of collaboration. So it wasn't, the timing of it wasn't something that was even thought about. It was just, it was pretty quick. There wasn't a lot of time to really think about anything.
Yeah.
Which has been pretty crazy because now it's been, we're supposed to start a production in the next month or so. And so I've had, with the first draft, I had basically kind of like 2 months to work on it. And I had both films memorized, not figured out, but like I read through them, multiple times. As you can imagine, like reading that script for Zero Contact, even just the first film, I don't know how many times I read it, and I had so many questions for Cam. I had notes that I just sent him an email, and he'd be like, well, this is because of this, and that's actually a really good point. Thank you for that, and this is here because of this, and so I had to really kind of like a Beautiful Mind or the Number 23 with Jim Carrey, where everything's on the wall, and like I've got like Sharpie going to this, and you know. I had to really map it out. So there wasn't a lot of time to worry about the timing or how it was going to turn out. It was, again, take the leap and go for it.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely some big brain content that you guys are discussing in this film. And it takes a little bit of a while for the viewer to really kind of feel like they have a good grasp of
Yeah.
what's at stake, what's happening, and kind of where it's going to go.
Yep.
But it all ends up mapping itself out. And what an amazing ability to be able to have Anthony Hopkins in your film, and like him just
For me to be in his film, let's put it that way.
yes, and he's just waxing poetic the whole film. I
Yeah.
swear it's like he's not even acting. I feel like
I
he
know.
wrote all of his own lines.
I know. And I asked Cam that as well. I was like, how much of that interview series did you write and did he write?
Yeah.
And Cam was like, well, it was a collaboration. Like I wrote that and then he came up with different aspects of it or different words. And I just remember watching him being like, this is so crazy good. Like it just blew my mind. I've watched the film, I don't even know, maybe 5 different times now. And I got to go watch it again. As soon as I get the new drafts of the new scripts, before I read those, I'll watch the film again.
Yeah.
Till I get ramped up and just hopefully, try and gather as much information as possible, because things hit at different times. It's like reading a book for the 3rd time or something. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. It's like the Dostoevsky, like I'm going to have to read that book like for the rest of my life.
Yes.
To grasp what's going on. It's so much going on. But the cool part about 2 and 3 is we really explore the world of the quantum universe that is Zero Contact, and the world that they've built and how it works, and the machine and how that machine interacts with reality. So 2 and 3 is definitely going to dive into that a little bit more, and even like, we're going to flip it on its head as well. So
so you're pretty excited about the next 2.
Yeah, I am. Sam is in for a ride.
Now, I don't know if this would be a spoiler, if you're allowed to say anything or not. Do we see Anthony Hopkins in 2 or 3? Do you know, or
are you even allowed to say?
I think I'm allowed to say.
Okay, all right.
I'm allowed to say that we should. I will hopefully be working with him in person.
Oh boy.
So that will, I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm just, again, same thing, focus on the script, the words, and what my character wants from him, not Chris. And that I feel like that protects me. I've been able to work with I've been blessed to work with some pretty fantastic names. And I feel like that's my only saving grace, is just, I see you as this character and that's how I'm treating you. And on and off set, obviously, I'm not method in a sense. I'm not to treat you different when we do cut or anything like that. But that's how I feel comfortable, feeling like I belong there without feeling like a complete imposter,
Sure.
Hey, it's a pretty good lineup. Just Hannah Montana, Anthony Hopkins. That's
legends all around.
Yeah.
Legends all around.
Yeah.
Miley, can you hear us?
So, Chris, can you tell people when they should expect to be able to watch this film? And also, can you just let the listeners know like where they can find you on social media or wherever else?
Sure. Yeah. You find me on Instagram. Instagram's kind of my main deal. Everything else, my Instagram floods through Facebook and Twitter or whatever.
Sure.
So Christopher_M, as in Michael, my middle name, _Brochu. That's my Instagram. I'll have the little check mark. You can tell that it's me. I put everything on there. So anything that you may need, links, all that jazz will be there. I have a YouTube channel. You can check that out as well. Chris Brochu. Those are the, I guess those are the two things. Was that the question?
And this film, when is it? When is the release?
Correct. Okay. So you can actually, if you're interested in the NFT space, you can go to viewly.io and you can actually buy the Zero Contact NFT. It's the full feature film. It's yours. There's limited copies of it available. I bought the bundle, which I believe is, at the time it was $70. Gets the film, the poster, and a couple of digital like trading cards of different characters. My first and maybe last NFT I ever purchased. So that's available now if you're into that type of thing. Otherwise, the 27th of this month, May, it'll be in select theaters and on demand.
Awesome.
So you can catch
That's
up.
awesome.
And for those of you who do tune in and watch the film, A, first of all, thank you. And B, if you enjoy it, we plan for 2 and 3 to reward that and take you and our characters along to some pretty epic places. We want to bring our audience to some ancient, beautiful, breathtaking places. One of the first ones that we shot, it's the only one we've shot so far location-wise, was Antarctica. We shot it in December. And
What?
that was surreal. And so that's kind of the, I'm not gonna give anything else away. Maybe, watch Instagram for any other travel details.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted, but we're wanting to bring you, and when I say you, I also say me, to these just fantastic, like I said, ancient places, some of the most beautiful places that Earth has to offer. And so hopefully we can provide that for our viewers.
It's incredible. That's incredible. You definitely have us excited. I
good.
am really intrigued by this. This is, and it's interesting for me because it's progressing from a film that's essentially filmed at your homes.
Yes.
But your end goal is to bring it to these amazing locations and
Yes.
just expand it so much.
Yep.
And I think that's great.
And I think that'll be rewarding for the audience, because like you said, it's not claustrophobic, but you can feel that way because we're stuck in these boxes, and we'll probably have essence of that still in 2 and 3, because Finley Hart, he's basically the tech icon of this world. He is the Tony Stark, Elon Musk, Bill Gates of this world. And he is the father of mass surveillance, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's how we get all of these different camera angles, and he can tap into all these different devices. So there will be aspects of that. But I think to thank the audience for basically allowing us to take you on the Zero Contact journey in this kind of like confined space, although it is 17 different countries.
Yeah.
To be able to actually then turn it into conventional filming, take us to this like just vast expanse of different places on Earth. It is ramping up to be the adventure of a lifetime. So fingers crossed, we'll just see how it all goes.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for having conversation about not just the film, but also every other topic that we went on today. This was definitely so much more than a horror podcast today. And I know I really appreciated and enjoyed it. So thank you.
I appreciate it as well, Dave. And
I'm just super excited about the books, man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm gonna as soon as I can, they'll be in my eBay cart.
Yes.
If you haven't read this one, you should read this one too. There you go.
Right.
A religious experience. It's an old book, but it's different religions and how people have come to find them, and it's very interesting.
Does it tap into psychedelics?
No. But if you do want a good psychedelic book, there is a DMT book that I just read that was really good.
Spirit Molecule.
Yes. Yes. The Spirit Molecule. Super good book.
I got what was that? I just had a thought real quick. What was that book? What did I just talk about? Psychedelics. Oh, another kind of in the vein of religion.
I'm sorry, Dave. We're keeping this going, man. Just for this.
It's okay. No, it's all right.
Man, I don't know. I've tried to read this book. It's extremely dense. So I'm gonna have to start over at some point. Sacred Mushroom and the Cross.
Really?
So
That sounds
John
interesting.
was the author is a Dead Sea Scrolls scholar and interpreter. And basically, I don't know when.
Wait a minute. Didn't he do a Dead Sea Scrolls book? What was the name of that author again?
John Allegro.
I think he's the one that wrote a book where it actually goes in. It's got footnotes under the scrolls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this one, this thing has got so many like sources and reference. I mean, it's so dense and has like, it's talking about Hebrew and Arabic, and it's so far past my comprehension.
Yeah.
But I like trying to throw myself in the deep end sometimes. But
Right.
essentially what happens is this guy gets a hold of a scroll and he starts deciphering it, translating it. And what the translation ends up being is that the Bible and ancient Christianity was essentially, and I guess for lack of a better term, it was like a mushroom fertility cult. And all of these, and I mean, we could maybe take out the word cult and whatever, but it was a secret society, and all of these names of the disciples and things of that nature were actually code so that you could actually meet and partake of this mushroom. So psychedelic. So he started translating it, and all of this psychedelic information started coming out of it. And everybody's like, dude, you need to calm down. And he's like, all I do is translate, and this is what it's saying. And all the other ones you guys are cool with, but this one's kind of crazy. So that's what it is. It's super interesting.
That's some Manny P. Hall shit right there. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's life.
Dude, I'm definitely looking it up. I read The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manny P. Hall. And after reading that, I was like, whoa. So I'm down for it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yes. We
Yes.
could do another podcast just doing that. We'll just bring books and we'll talk about it.
Yes.
I'm in the library.
That sounds like a plan.
That's my dream.
Chris, open invitation anytime, even if you just want to have conversations like this. But definitely rejoin us when Zero Contact 2 is, on its way out for everybody.
Yeah,
Okay?
would love to. Yeah, and tag me and everything, and I'll repost and all that jazz.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey,
So everybody,
right on.
thank you for listening. Chris, thank you for joining. Check out Zero Contact. 27th of May, it will be released. And thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Be well, everyone.